Here's a great video by Matt Walsh. He gets mad about capitalism and complains about tipping.
For the last few years on this show, we have been covering what I would call the pandemic of pointless tipping. Now, it used to be that tipping was expected only if you were at a sit-down restaurant or ordering a pizza for delivery. It's a simple time back then. Everybody knew the rules and expectations. You were asked to leave a tip only in very limited and specific circumstances, which meant that you could tip generously when those occasions arose. It was a win-win. The waiters and pizza delivery guys, they made out pretty well, and you had the opportunity to feel magnanimous.
Here's a quick fact. Tipping uh, only began after black people were freed from slavery. Before then, it was considered a bribe, and nobody accepted it. But when black people got freed, people uh, wanted to hire these people, but not actually pay them a wage, so they figured that they can convince these people to work for tips.
I used to tip upwards of 25%, even more for most tipping situations. I was essentially a philanthropist back in those days. But then the dam started to crack a little bit, and suddenly places like coffee shops were putting out tip jars. And, why do I need to tip someone for pouring me a coffee? I could do that by myself. I'm more than happy to. Let me behind the counter. I'll handle it. Nobody ever.
Well, then why not just make coffee at home instead of going to a coffee shop? Easy as that. They're not going to let you behind the counter.
Bothered to justify the coffee shop tip jar, and we didn't have time to stop and think about it because next thing you know, sit-down restaurants started offering to-go options, but they still wanted tips even for that. We used to tip the waiter for serving the food. Now we're being asked to tip the guy who simply hands a bag of food across the counter, and we got to tip the same for that, we're told.
Well, the biggest issue is that jobs aren't paying people enough. If jobs were to pay people more, we could do away with tipping and just have people paid an hourly wage, especially restaurant workers who, okay, yeah, they get paid an hourly wage, but they mostly live on tips. They get paid like $2 or $3 an hour, and that is because the restaurant corporations made a deal with the politicians when they were raising the wage one year, and they decided, hey, keep the restaurant workers just tips, and it's a way to for these people to keep money in their own pockets because customers are subsidizing the employers by using tips to so that staff members can feed themselves.
Tipping had already gotten out of hand, and we hadn't seen the worst of it yet because one day, seemingly out of nowhere, all at once, every store in America started using touchscreen tablets at checkout, which makes it even easier to add a tipping option. And this was the moment when the dam finally gave way. The simple, innocent days of tipping only on pizza night or date night were gone, and now everybody wants a tip. Every cashier at every store suddenly turns into a panhandler. Doesn't matter if.
No, they don't turn into a panhandler because the businesses is asking for tips. He wants to blame the workers for the businesses implementing tips when it's not the workers doing it, it's the employers, so that they can use those tips to subsidize the employees' wages or take those tips themselves.
If you're at a bakery or a coffee shop or a fast food place or an airport or a supermarket or a gas station, a hardware store, they all want tips. They've all decided that inflation hasn't made life expensive enough as it is, apparently. And even as these industries intentionally make their already too expensive goods and services even more expensive.
Yeah, inflation, again, is the businesses, uh, uh, it's the businesses putting the cost that they should be eating onto that of the consumers. So if you have a problem with inflation, or at least businesses making customers pay for increased inflation, you got a problem with capitalism because businesses are all about making as much profit as possible, no matter what. That and that even means increasing prices.
The quality of the goods and services declined. The website retailcustomerexperience.com reported last year on a poll of over 96,000 consumers, which found that the quality of customer service has dipped dramatically. So if you've noticed a significant increase in the number of customer service workers who are totally disinterested and generally incompetent and often openly angry at you for walking into their establishment to begin with,
Well, most people are angry because they're forced to work at a job that's not paying them enough. So, just blame the businesses for that. Um, Also, you will notice that the bigger a business gets, the lower quality that their products and service becomes because the more people they're able to sell products to or service, the less they actually have to have quality because they have such a wide reach. It's like McDonald's. McDonald's was first it started out, good quality burgers, but as they got bigger and bigger, the quality of their burgers decreased because they knew that they had such a wide audience that they've captured that even if the quality decreased, people will still buy it, they will still make money, and they'll make even more money than before because it's lower the items that they're buying is lower quality, which means it's lower in cost, and that increases the profits of McDonald's. All businesses will do this.
that's not your imagination. Like we've all noticed the same thing. And yet, at this precise moment, when service has never been worse, we're being asked to pay more than we ever have for it. But at least if you're tipping a, you know,
Yeah, and that again is capitalism. Capitalist people, they want as much money as possible, even for shoddy products and service, because all they care about is getting money from people. Matt Walsh's issue is with capitalism, and it's funny because right wingers, they love capitalism no matter, well, they claim to love capitalism no matter how extreme it is, but you constantly have them complaining about capitalism at the same time.
sullen and lazy customer service employee, you're still tipping an actual employee. You're tipping someone, you're tipping a human being. Increasingly, even that is starting to change. The Wall Street Journal reports this week, quote, tipping at self-checkout has customers crying emotional blackmail. Zero interaction with employees during a transaction no longer guarantees freedom from the moral quandary of how much to tip. Prompts to leave 20% at self-checkout machines at airports, stadiums, cookie shops, cafes across the country are rankling consumers already inundated by the proliferation of tip screens. Business owners say the automated queues can significantly increase gratuities and boost staff pay. But the unmanned prompts are leading more customers to question what exactly the tips are for.
See, yeah, business owners say that automated queues can significantly increase gratuities and boost staff pay. So various business owners are saying, yeah, they're pretty much using tips to subsidize the wages of employees.
They're cutting labor costs by doing self-checkout, but what's the point of asking for a tip? And where's it going? Says Ishita Jamar, a senior at American University in Washington, D.C., who has noticed more self-serve tip queues at restaurants she frequents.
Okay, yeah, the more a business automates their workforce, the higher in taxes that they should be paying to help subsidize society. Because if more and more, the more and more, as more and more businesses automate, that means less jobs for people to get into, which would increase the unemployment. So in all honesty, the more businesses automate, the more we're going to be forced to have a UBI, unless you want a large-scale rebellion of people that are unable to get work because there will be no work.
Tipping researchers, that's a job apparently, tipping researchers, and labor advocates say that so-called tip creep is a way for employers to put the onus for employee pay onto consumers rather than raising wages themselves. companies say that tips are an optional thanks for a job well done.
And that is true. That is the biggest reason why employers want customers to tip, so that they can use that to pay employees instead of increasing wages. So, thus, people are subsidizing the wages of employers, which should be considered morally wrong. There are many nations that have a tipping culture, and we can easily move to that kind of culture. We just have to force employers to pay more. And if they can't afford to pay more in wages, well, then they shouldn't exist as a business. And we have many, many corporations that can easily afford to pay higher wages. You know, Walmart, McDonald's, um, Apple, Google, many of these large businesses that, make billions of dollars, they can easily pay a higher wage.
Job well done. Well, who did the job at a self checkout machine? Me? If anyone should be tipped after I use self checkout, it should be me. And I really should get a tip because I'm very efficient on the self checkout. Okay, unlike a lot of people, and they're in front of you self checkout, you know that's going to be a problem. It's going to be there. They bag each thing slowly and individually and all that. I speed through that thing.
What do you like bag 10 items at once? Dude, I bet this dude doesn't even know how to like bag items properly. He doesn't even know how to do his own laundry or dishes or anything like that. So this like brag is like, what's the point in it?
It's one of my best skills. And I've already taken on the role of the employee when I'm at the self checkout machine. I am scanning and bagging my own items. So the store should be tipping me for my labor, not the other way around.
Yeah, that I mean, there are lots of pros and cons of checkout machines. For some people, they like it because they don't have to interact with people. Yeah, people like Matt Walsh, they don't like it because it's something that various employees should actually be doing. I feel the same as that. Well, and kind of both. I do like the self-checkout. It can be, quick and fast, but it is also like, shouldn't somebody be bagging my stuff for me? Where are all the cashiers? It's like at Walmart. It's now nothing but self-checkout, and they're automating the self-checkout or the checkout system so that they can save money. They need less people to bag the items because all they do is have people watch over the self-checkout areas, and they will still raise their prices and pay their employees nothing while they rake in billions of dollars in profits every year. This is this is what this is like capitalism. It is about making as much money as possible, exploiting as many people as possible, and using technology that makes everything uh, as efficient as possible, so that way the employers have to hire the least amount of people.
President Trump recently issued a warning from his Mar-a-Lago home. Quote, if I could do a Trump impression here, I would do it, but I can't. So, our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be
Yeah, this is an ad. We'll skip it.